Yeah. Don't you see that I need you so much? Don't you see that I love you so much? Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, darling, I need your love. Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, darling, I need your love.
Hi, Coach.
Welcome, James. How are you? Are you ready?
Doing good.
Are you ready?
I just have to go into leeches.
Okay, good. I'm going to send you your invite.
Coach, I am ready.
Okay, good. Hey, how are you?
Good, and Coach.
Good. Welcome, everyone. Those on the stream, those on YouTube, those on Facebook. You're all welcome. I want to dig into this position with James. So we've been discussing more about individuality and style, right?
Yes, Coach.
All right. So today's lesson is going to look in depth at how a person's knowledge and background and the things they've done influences decision making over the board, of course. And we'll use some examples, maybe not complete games, and then maybe we'll look at one complete game. But we want to dig into this idea of how a person's knowledge affects their decision making over the board. The first one we're going to do is an assessment by Nimzovich, and the position that he was talking about started with e4, e5, and after knight f3, black plays f5. So maybe let me do this quickly and add a new chapter. Let's call it Nimzovich. And he was playing a guy called Betting. The our interest is not necessarily the whole game, it's just the way he thought about the resulting position. So it was after e4, e5, and knight f3. So traditionally, when you play this opening, you're expecting your opponent to play d6 or knight c6 or maybe even knight f6. These will be quite normal moves. But here, black goes f5. And this normally for a lot of people would be a surprise. Experienced players would know that here this position is slightly bad for black, right? Hey Hades, welcome. So if it's slightly bad for black, I want you to think, what would be the move that you would have to play as white? And this is where your understanding really comes into play. The moment when you meet a new position you've never seen before and you have to think for yourself from scratch, right? That's the moment when you really get challenged to see if you can think in that particular position. So let's see, even the guys in the chat, see if you can suggest the correct idea here and the correct move. Hey, you both. I don't know if I missed something. I just see you're saying only slightly. Okay, if you look in the chat, I've introduced like a reward system. The more you watch, the more you earn. And I think if you reach 1,000 points, we'll offer you a lesson, a private one, particularly dedicated for you on the stream. So that, you know, like for your support, you get rewarded. Okay, so d4 would be a mistake. You have a shaky center, so if you go d4, your opponent is just going to play fe4, and yes, you can play a move like this, but you're not getting the most out of this position. Hey Yubo, how are you? Okay, so James, what do you think after f5? Don't suggest every move, just stick to one that you feel like, okay, this is it, this is what I'm going to play. So we're basically looking at the position after f5.
What about knight c3?
Okay, so if you play knight c3, you're doing something which I cautioned you against last week, which is you're trying to make it safe for yourself. You're defending a pawn which your opponent can take and start harassing you in the center, let's say with d5 or something like this. And now it's you who's on the run as opposed to your opponent. So f5 is you can apply a principle here.
So you have to play d3.
Again, d3 is a safe move. You're trying to be safe, and this is not enough. Yeah, well done, enough. Knight takes e5. So again, remember what I said about activity. The most important concept in chess is activity. And when you move your pieces, you're trying to move your pieces in the direction of maximum activity. So knight takes e5 comes with other threats like queen to h5 check. If you play your bishop to c4, you're also threatening bishop f7 check. So this move cannot be wrong, and you should not be shy if your opponent has played something funny like this. That's the reason why openings like this are not played a lot at the highest level. They are suspect. So in the game, black goes queen f6, but let's look at some obvious moves. If he plays pawn takes here, what do you do?
Then you play queen to h5.
Yeah, queen to h5 is obviously clearly winning, and there's no way black can avoid extreme damage here. So you understand why he plays knight to f6, right? Another seemingly usual move is knight f6 in this position, but after bishop c4, again black has got challenges which are difficult to handle. So let's say if he goes queen e7 here, you just protect the knight, and if he tries to chase it away with d6, then knight f7, and this is not a healthy position after knight c3. There is multiple threats. He doesn't really have time to take, because after knight g5, castles, the position is very good for white. Okay, so Hades says, my concern with knight takes e5 will be breaking open the principle about moving the piece twice in the opening. Now, that gets handled by, I think, understanding. I'm glad you brought that up, because sometimes principles appear as if they clash when they are not clashing. The three opening principles I can tell you right now that hold up all the time to be called principles is: number one, develop your minor pieces; number two, castle; number three, connect your rooks. The one about not moving the same piece twice, I could show you numerous openings where that gets violated. e4, knight f6, e5. You have to move the knight, because if you don't, white is going to take it. So you move it twice, you move it 3 times, you move it 4 times in some cases, right? In the Grunfeld, d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, d5, pawn takes, you move the knight 2 times, 3 times. So that's not a principle, it's a guideline. And I think it's very important to understand that difference. Otherwise, you're always going to be limited by things that are not fundamental principles. So e4, e5, moving the same piece twice, if it's going to benefit you, absolutely. So knight takes here is absolutely correct, right? Okay, so queen f6 gets played. Again, you're in new territory, and you are at this point on your own. You don't know the theory of the opening, and now you need to proceed. After queen f6, what do you do? Did you just suggest this now? Hades? Did you just suggest d4 as a move? What do you think, James? What would be going on through your mind?
I also think d4 could be good.
Very good. Very strong. In the opening, like I said, you are developing your minor pieces. You want to castle and you want to connect your rooks. And by playing d4, you open up for this bishop, and this bishop is ready to go out. You support the knight, and obviously it's under attack, so you have to do that. So the ball is back in a black Scott, and he goes d6, attacking your knight. What do you do? Again, you can't say, well, the piece is moved once, I'm not going to move it. So you have to do something. Yes, d4 is correct, Hades. These positions look simple, but you learn a lot out of like really just applying raw theoretical data onto them and trying to understand how to use theory.
Get lost inside my thoughts, and when I start to think, oh, the Tahoe close, it starts to end up on the brink. I tried so hard, but all these scars, they cut so deep, I bleed. I fell so fast from heaven, it's like someone clipped my wings. Now I'm falling.
Coach, what
Yes.
about knight to f3?
Knight to f3. So if you put your knight on f3, what's going to happen is that your opponent is going to take on e4, attacking the knight again, and you have to move it. And you're going to play knight, let's say, if you take to d2, he's going to take on d4. If you go to g1, it's as if you didn't make a move, but he made a series of moves, and the position looks bad for it. So coming back to f3 is not a good idea. Queen h5. Okay, so here, let's say we do what Hades says, and this is a very dangerous thing that you must be aware of. When your pieces are attacked, I want you to look at counter-attacking ideas and make sure they work, but it's not usually a good idea to put your another piece in attack whilst another one is being attacked. You have to really cross-check, because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And in this particular case, to play Queen h5 check is reckless, because now you've got two pieces under attack. How do you resolve this? You're losing a piece, so not a good idea.
Coach, what
Yeah.
about knight to c4?
Very good. Knight to c4. The knight is in a central square. It still has this influence, which is quite huge. But if he takes on e4, it's not going to really affect you. So you have time to develop more pieces. So after knight c4, black takes. And here, Nimzovich found a certain move, and he was very proud of it, and absolutely he was correct. His move violates all principles. Now, the reason why I'm raising this is that if you never actually read about him and what he thought and what he did, you'd never really understand certain things. In this position, first of all, before I tell you what he played, I want you to guess what would be your move and then why you would play. Would expect G6, I see. Oh, okay, no, that's good. I mean, every time you see like a shortcoming in the way you were thinking about a position, it means that something has shifted. So that's the beauty of training. You never lose. You can only gain. That's why I really encourage that you participate as much as possible. That way it challenges the way you think or the way you look at certain things. And we don't have enough of this kind of discussion. So my question to you is, if you are white here, what would be your move and what would be your reasons for your move? And that is not as easy as it looks. And then I'll show you the surprising choice that, of course, Nimzovic made. Welcome, Chopin. How are you? This is very advanced. This is like 800 to 1200 type material. Very good, Aegis. Knight e3 was the move that also Nimzovic suggested in this position. It's such a contrast to what we understand as theory and ideas of chess. And you'd never make such a move because it's the kind of move which makes it very hard for you to speak to your coach after the game. Because first of all, by all appearances, number one, it's a backward move to play knight e3. Number two, it blocks the bishop on c1. And it moves a piece which has moved already so many times. So in all contracts, it appears wrong. But if you read Nimzovic books, he says about this move that I don't care what anyone would play in this position, I would still play knight. And his reason for this is that the knight on e3 threatens the move knight to d5. It also blockades this pawn, controls all those squares, clears the position for the bishop to come through, and overall actually works in the position. The bishop on c1, you want to develop it, but where do you develop it? It's not clear where you would put it. And yes, Yubo, the reason why I mentioned this because there's so many other natural things that could happen in this position. Yes, knight c3 looks okay and it's normal, but if we are looking at understanding, which is what Nimzovic is talking about, this knight e3 makes a lot of sense, especially when you see how he plays further on. But this is the point, right? This is the point about this investigation, and the reason why I'm showing you this is that there are certain things that no matter what theoreticians will say, in practice, when you actually look at classical games and what classical masters thought like, you learn a lot. Even if you might not play the same move, your understanding progresses and you think a bit better than, usual. Okay, so here, so knight e3, and the threat is of course knight to d5 is a potential threat. So black plays c6 and Nimzovic plays the move bishop c4. So black naturally plays d5, Nimzovic pulls back, bishop b3, and white goes bishop e6. And of course, this was Nimzovic's favorite hobby. He would allow you to build a strong center, right? You see this center, James?
Yes, coach.
Okay, it's a strong center. But Nimzovic liked this idea, and he used to play the French a lot. And his reasoning was he would allow you to build a center like this, and then he would challenge it. Now he's threatening to take on d5 in some cases. And a simple idea, but one which is powerful. So he goes c4, black goes queen f7, and queen c2. Sorry, queen e2. So black goes knight f6, white castles, bishop b4, and if you look at this position, the if you look at the position, others will answer, I'm not sure. If the leg continues, let me know. So d4 is a pawn which is on the same color as this bishop, which is the reason why this bishop was difficult to develop. So Nimzovic, of course, immediately understands this and goes bishop d2. He wants to trade this terrible bishop, and white doesn't really get it, and it goes on, helps Nimzovic. And after knight d2, castles, Nimzovic plays f4. And Nimzovic went on to win this position in about 27 moves. But it's very important to understand the value of this move on e3 in that game, because it became the beginning of ideas of what we call the knight being a good blockader in front of a pawn, putting pressure and controlling space beyond where it's set. And this is a very useful principle to understand in the video. So same position, and we're going to go back. Now, a few years later, a different player came along. His name was Branstad. And Branstad was the complete opposite of Nimzovic. Whereas Nimzovic liked close positions, Branstad was a free spirit and liked open positions. And after e4, e5, knight f3, knight f5, take on here, queen f6, d4, everything the same like what we looked at, d6 here, take on e4. Who would like to guess the move that Branstad played here? Let's try. James?
I'm not sure. Is Branstad white
Yeah, Branstad is white here.
in this position?
So same position, different masters. It's skipping around in your end. All right. Okay, let me try something. Let me know if it continues. Okay, I've changed something. Let me know if it's still doing the same.
Coach, is the move maybe knight to c3?
Knight c3 is a natural move to make, and the computer will like that move. But eventually what happens is you start running out of places to put your pieces. If you increase the horizon of your computer, it will start seeing that knight c3 is not the best move. Okay, great. It was bandwidth, so I reduced the bandwidth of YouTube to 144p. Okay, so we can guess what the move is here for white. It's not the obvious knight c3.
Coach, is
Yeah?
it maybe f3?
No, it's not f3. f3 would severely damage the king side for white. Well done, Yubo. Bishop e2. And Branstad maintained that this move refutes the whole entire complex system. And when you analyze with a stronger computer, you actually realize that this move is very strong. And the game that he played went knight c6, and after d5, knight e5, he simply castled,
Lord knows that I've tried to.
and
You said I was the only one.
after knight takes c4,
No one likes being lied to.
bishop c4,
You made this mess and left me with the pieces.
queen went to g6 so that he can develop the knight on a proper square,
Bridges between
and Nimzo went bishop b5 check,
focus.
and after king d8 he played the move bishop f4, and after h5 he opened the lines with f3, and here white had a huge advantage. Now Branstad's commentary was written in 1969, and he was assessing the position in its full context. And if you look at the different moves, Of course, Branstad had more information at this time than Nimzovich had. Whereas Nimzovich's move, we nowadays would turn it down, just because we prefer and know that overall more activity is better than less activity, right? We would choose that move better than we would choose knight e3, because knight e3, number one, is backward, number two, it blocks other pieces, right? But it's a viable strategy and it works. And Branstad, it's not that Branstad didn't see the idea. He saw the idea that Nimzovich played for, but he just understood a bit broader. And if you look at the two different grandmasters, Branstad is thinking about activity, whereas Nimzovich is thinking about structure. He's thinking about how his position in the long run will look like. Does that make sense, James?
Yes, coach.
Yeah, he's not just worried about, Branstad is not just worried about structure, he's also thinking about PC activity, mobility, and so on. Whereas Nimzovich is like, my structure needs to be perfect. And none of them is wrong, but we nowadays tend to pick the idea which forwards our objectives much faster. Are you with me? And
Yes,
that
coach.
is understanding. It's when you look at a position and you're not looking for only what you want to see, but you look at a position with the idea of understanding and using it in your own games. Another thing that we might not be thinking about is that there are certain grandmasters and stronger players who are what we call tricky, right? For instance, when Branstad plays bishop e2, he's got other tricks in mind, like you can't play queen g6 anymore. Do you see why?
You just play bishop h5.
Exactly. So in chess, there are players like this who are always constantly setting up traps. So this move will appeal to someone like Branstad than it would to players who play like that. So if you put Tau, for instance, he will love this bishop e2. But if you put someone like Capablanca, you will see it as a cheap trick. Make sense?
Yes.
Do you know what the name of this opening is called? The one after e5, knight f3, f5. Do you know the name of the opening? Or who knows in the chat? Who knows the name of this opening?
Coach, I'm not good with my opening names.
Oh, yeah. Let's see if someone
I
in
just-
in the chat can spot it.
I just call them by their moves. I say e4, e5, knight f3, and f5. That opening.
Okay, so since Yubo, I would have thought Yubo knows this opening. Who knows this opening? Knight takes e5. No, that's not the name of the opening. It's very important to understand these small things because they increase your understanding of positions. Latvian Gambit, well done you. So this opening is called the Latvian Gambit. There's a good book on it, I think it's called the Latvian Gambit Lives. So they are exponents of the opening and they really like it. But I'm just giving you a way of thinking that shapes or helps you understand why certain players would play in a certain way. And that's how actually style influences play. Hey King Mix, welcome. Sometimes if only chess was as easy as memorizing chess names. It's not. You might know all of them and still not play well. Okay, sometimes players might have the same train of thought and it can introduce interesting play. So let's look at this game. Dorfman is playing Dvoretsky. D4, knight f6, and knight f3, e6, c4, and bishop b4 check. Okay, what is the name of this opening? There's a bit of a delay on chat. Oh, okay. Thank you for letting me know.
Coach, is it the Queen's Gambit?
No, it's not the Queen's Gambit. So part of learning chess, I definitely have to say is absorbing the culture of chess, and knowing these openings also helps a lot. Knowing so if he plays this is the opening idea. Whilst you're thinking about the name of the opening or figuring it out, most of these Indian type openings, which arise after d4, are about the control of the square e4. So here, if we eliminate this knight from controlling e4, that's the idea. Basically, white is the one who, by putting his knight on f3, determined which type of opening he was going to play. Play could have originated like this, and white has a choice. If he plays knight c3, he plays the Nimzo Indian. If he plays knight f3, you've got a choice of two openings that you can play, one starting with b6 and the other one starting with bishop b4. Now, the one we see here in this game is the one which starts with bishop b4. What is the name of this opening? It's a popular opening. It's actually quite a sound opening to learn. What is it called? No, it's not a Nimzo. Or done you go say Bogo India. So by playing bishop b4 check early, and you induce this position, bishop takes d2. Now if white plays knight takes, this would be limit the knight and make it less. So he starts with queen takes d2 and black goes d6. The original idea of the author of this system, which you might have guessed already, his name was Bokolito, was to play d5. So he normally would go something like castles, and after knight c3 continue with d5, which seems to suit the position a bit better. So it's like a black continues with his idea. But now if you think about it a bit more, after bishop takes d2, queen takes d2, black has exchanged the dark squared bishop. So it makes a lot of sense to put the pawns on the dark squares. Yes, correct, Yubo. And these would have been a correct idea. But anyway, in the game, d6 is played, and white continues knight c3 to control this square. Black castles, black goes g3. White. Black goes queen e7, and after bishop g2, he carries out this breakthrough with e5. So white castles, and black goes rook e8. and white goes e4. Sorry. So after rook e8, e4, he plays the move a5. And this a5 is one of the main ideas. The point is that you want to put a knight on c5, let's say after taking on d4, and a5 prevents a3, b4 when the knight is on c5. So that's really the main idea here. There is another idea that you could try here, which is bishop g4, just undermining d4 as much as you can. And if white plays a knight e1, black can then play knight c6, and after knight c2 play knight takes d4, and is exchanging some pieces and is simplifying the position, which suits a black a lot. But there are modern ways of ending this position nowadays which are not like this. We'll meet it sometime in the future. But here a5, h3, and black goes c6, rook e1, knight a6, and white goes rook a1, and black goes king to c7. Okay, now if you think about this position, you see a very significant difference in the way these two players are playing. Who seems to be under pressure here? Who do you feel, James, is under pressure?
I feel like black's under pressure.
Very good. He seems cramped. It's not so easy to find moves for him. So white understands this. So he improves his position slowly, doesn't rush. Goes king h2, and black goes bishop e6. It's an interesting picture. Why do you think black plays bishop e6? What is he teasing white to do?
He wants white to play b3.
He wants white to play b3. Very good. He also wants white to play d5. So which one is better for white to do? Let's say you're playing white. What would you? Yeah, black, definitely you're correct. Black is under pressure.
b3 is very solid, and d5 is beginning an attack.
Okay. So which one is better?
I think the d5.
D5 is better. Actually, that's what black wants you to do. If you play d5, suddenly his knight has got this square on c5. Yes, your bishop goes back, but that's just temporary. And the position is good for black. So b3 is much more strong. So again, you need to understand what the other person is doing and the style in which they are playing. Now, if you've never read Nimzovich, this idea will pass you easily. But if you've read Nimzovich, you would understand how black is playing. That's why it's important to look at even the people you don't like and understand how they play, so that when you meet a position like that, you can use their way of thinking or their style. So b3, rook a d8, and white goes knight h4. Knight b4, and white goes a3. Again, this is a mistake. When your opponent plays a move like knight b4, he's hoping that you play a3, pushing him back, which creates weaknesses. So here, let's assume you're playing black. What do you do?
You have to play knight a6 to protect your knight.
Okay. Or you can think a bit differently. When you play knight a5, knight a6, you're just reacting to what your opponent is doing. You could think a bit more beyond the usual and do something else. Go down, king mix, take on d4. So you're not just reacting, you're also kicking back. So now, if he plays queen takes, now you've got knight c2. So these are some of the ideas that you would have easily overlooked. And a3 and e1 and d4. The whole family is being poked by one knight. So he is forced to take on b4. And after dc3, queen c3, a b4, queen takes, he goes rook e7, and after e5, d takes e5, rook takes d8, queen takes d8, rook e5. Queen c7, and now f4, maintaining the rook on e5, rook e8, knight f3, h6, knight d4. So now this bishop is there goes bishop c8, queen c5, rook d8, knight b5, queen b8, knight c3, bishop e6, and queen e3. And both players could not make progress in this position and they agreed to a draw. But we see a different application of different ways of thinking in that sense. So this is really kind of the value of, or the point I just wanted you to look at is, besides your chess knowledge, as a player, you need to be able to look at a position from an old master viewpoint. That's why you need to know your classics, because they shape the way you look and understand and look at a position. And it's very important that you look at especially their own annotation of why they played in a certain way, because this broadens the way you look. And I think that's very valuable. Okay, so we end off here. And thank you so much, James, for being there. It might have been a lot of information, but I want you to think the right way from the beginning, okay? But what did you learn?
I didn't know the name of that opening.
Like you were saying, it doesn't matter. If you want to change your results, if you know the name or not, but it's good that you know, right? Okay, cool. All right, thank you for joining. Just stay on the line. I'm just going to end the stream. We're not going to raid anyone today. Guys, thank you so much in the chat. Tomorrow we have another interesting game to look at. Again, just continuing with this concept of what do you call it? Chess style. Okay, bye for now.